Hey everyone, Mia here from Resonance Astrology, and welcome to this week's astrological overview of the week of September 15th till September 21st of 2025. This week, there is a big emphasis on Venus, on Mercury. They are both changing signs. Mercury enters the sign of Libra, Venus enters the sign of Virgo, and this actually ends up being a very nice support for both of them because they are in what is called mutual reception. But more to that a bit later on. And of course, the big build-up this week towards the solar eclipse in the sign of Virgo. I think this is what all the talk is about, so this is what we're going to talk about this week. And it seems there's a focus on relationship dynamics, on communication, and on necessary endings. And this is really highlighted in the moves that Venus, Mercury, and the solar eclipse in Virgo are doing. And why are also Venus and Mercury important in this instance? Not just because they're switching signs, but because they are ruling that eclipse. And yes, so this is kind of the overview, and now we're gonna dive in bit by bit each day, what each day holds for us astrologically. And we are starting off this week on Monday with the moon in Cancer. Monday is also Moon Day, okay? So it's the day of the moon. I love that we have the moon in its domicile today. So there's like a soft grounding and emotionally nourishing energy that we have on Monday. Then on Tuesday, Venus in Leo sextiles Mars in Libra and also trines Chiron in Aries. And obviously, since both of these aspects are formed, then also Mars in Libra opposes Chiron as well. And so this is a day for relational wounds that are coming to the surface, probably around assertion, around fairness, or where injustices have been done in our lives. Probably where you have felt invisible or not really being fully seen. That's very much a Venus in Leo theme. Where were your needs not met in the way, like where did you not feel fully seen by the other people or person or partner that you have in your life? So it's a good day for discussing things around visibility and nourishment. And then Mars in Libra brings up these themes again around like, were there injustices done? Is there some sort of unfairness or where you feel like you pulled the last straw in something? This can go way back, okay? Mars in Libra sometimes tends to fight a bit passive aggressive or like doesn't immediately kind of say what the actual issue is. And this day is very good for that, or might just naturally kind of bring up this triggering points where somebody does something. And then in that triggering moment, and that's kind of where that healing quality of Chiron comes at play. This is the moment where then the wound can be like fully shown for it to be healed and transformed and released into something new. So it's not so often that we necessarily like have to do something. Sometimes these transits just show up in our lives by somebody engaging with us, and then this triggering this sort of wound in our lives, and then we can actually release it. The moon is also still in Cancer that day and conjoins Jupiter, and I think even for that reason, there's a big chance for really having like an emotional release around these topics and like a moment of purification. So I do think Tuesday is a good day for that. And then we kind of enter midweek. On Wednesday, the moon enters the sign of Leo. Mercury in Virgo opposes Saturn in Pisces. This is the last exact opposition in this cycle. And because this doesn't happen all the time, right? It's like around once a year that this transit happens. And this is the last bit that we have with Saturn and Pisces. So it's the last time that these two will oppose each other, at least in that constellation. Of course, we will get Saturn, Mercury oppositions, but in this instance, it's peculiar because Mercury in Virgo is in an exalted form. So it's a strong Mercury that opposes Saturn. When Saturn moves into the sign of Aries and we get the oppositions between Mercury and Libra and Saturn and Aries, we have Mercury at not a specific position in a dignity wise, but Saturn is in its fall. So it's like a completely different dynamic that these two planets will be engaging in as of next year. And so this is the last exact opposition in this specific cycle. And it links back to last week's Mercury Sun Cazimi that we also had around the weekend. So like it just kind of happened actually. And this insights that we had, these aha moments that we had during the eclipse corridor now is being tested for durability and long-term reality. Like, is this actually tangible for your long-term vision? So this is what midweek, like this is like the midweek checkpoint, so to say. Then on Thursday, Mercury enters the sign of Libra. So there's a shift to more diplomacy, balancing things out in our lives, in our thoughts, in the way we communicate with people, but also internal, like our internal dialogue is very much also important, and probably around themes of justice. There's a lot of, world leaders that have prominent Libra placements, because Libra is very concerned about justice and can also be very opinionated what they think is justice, and that's really up to the person kind of to decide. In this way, Libra can also be a lot about divisions, and let's not forget that Saturn is also exalted in Libra. So Libra has this very interesting dynamic. Like as a sign, okay, as an archetype, we're not talking about personal planets in one's birth chart right now, but just Libra as an archetype. The only sign that has a strong benefic Venus in its domicile and a strong malefic Saturn in its exaltation, okay? No other sign has it like that. Libra is a very interesting sign in that manner. And Saturn rules the opposition aspect. And so it only makes sense that within Libra, there's like a lot of discrepancy. And we can probably see it in the world, it's like some people think this is justice. Some other people think that is justice. And in Libra, we kind of are. And why is Libra so diplomatic? Because it can, at its best, kind of step away and look at it from a different perspective and see, okay, where, and at the end of the day, whatever we humans think, there is always like this universal justice system that is way beyond us, okay, that none of us can fully contribute. And that's also, cosmos comes from the word cosmetic, meaning everything in perfect order. And for me, that is really the essence of Libra, because Libra has a lot to do with beauty, cosmetics, things in perfect order. And that's why there is like this cosmic, everything oftentimes seems like it's just random, but it's not. There's beauty in the chaos. There is order in the chaos, and ordered chaos. That is the cosmos. And that's what we do in astrology. We observe these patterns again and again, and we realize there is something of like this ever-evolving thing that goes on. Like, I like to say this quote, although I usually say it on German, so I hope I'm not butchering it right now when I'm translating it in English. But it's the only thing that never changes is that everything stays the same. Or is it the only thing that ever stays the same is that nothing ever really changes? I'm not sure in which direction it is, but you get the gist. And that is really, I'm not saying this to be like a downer or anything, even though it might seem like a more melancholic way of perhaps looking at things. For me, that is finding the beauty in the repetition of cycle, in the ordered chaos, in our cosmos. And there is beauty in that. And there is some sort of justice in realizing that everything has its purpose, even though we might be confused why certain things are coming up. I'm not trying to put a whole philosophical lecture in here, even though my Mercury and Sag is very tempting to do that right now. But I think it can serve a purpose in looking at things that way. And Mercury entering Libra is going to bring that to the forefront. And And there's going to be lots of opinions from different people on what is just, what is actual diplomacy, what does it mean to balance things out. And in the grand scheme of things, no matter what you believe, what I believe is just, because we all have our opinions on what we believe is justice, right? There is an universal intelligence that's kind of just allows that everything is here, that wants to experience itself through that. Why? Well, I wish I had like some sort of amazing answer to all of that. Sometimes I question things myself and I'm also not sure, but through the observation of the stars, I like to believe that there is a reason and a purpose for this transit, even though a lot of things might seem grim at times. But that is Libra as well. Let's not forget that Libra rules over the autumn equinox, when the sun, when it's officially, at least in the northern hemisphere, the dark of the dark side of the year. So there is a lot of darkness. And again, I'm saying it like that because darkness isn't essentially something that is bad, but there is something a lot darker about Libra than people give it credit to. But let's not dwell on this too much, since this is more of an overview, not a deep dive. But I hope you enjoyed this small little deep dive. There is an immediate aspect with every planet that enters Libra towards Neptune, towards Uranus and Pluto. And Libra uniquely engages all three outer planets, which adds a weight to Mercury's move here. Because Libra is the only sign that gets an opposition from Neptune and also Saturn, but Saturn isn't in Aries right now. And a trine from Uranus and Pluto. Okay, there's no other sign that gets the outers engaging with it in that way, which makes me believe that Libra is just like highlighting things in a very interesting way. And again, this move from Mercury into Libra is just very, I think, there's a lot that's going to happen with like opinions and ideas of justice. And we've been seeing it all over social media. It's like oversaturated with sides and ways and all of that. Again, I don't want to get all political here, but you know what I mean, right? Like spend enough time on social media and you almost want to be like, I'm going to log off the internet for the next 10 years because there's just too many opinions and things and all of that. What I do like about Mercury entering Libra is something that happens the next day. Venus enters Virgo. Okay, that's happening on Friday. Both of them then enter into something that is called mutual reception, meaning they are in each other's ruling sign. So Venus is in Virgo. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Where is Mercury? Well, Mercury is in Libra. Libra is ruled by Venus. So they're in each other's ruling signs, okay? This is what we call a mutual reception. And this is basically a positive aspect. Like it's influencing each other positively. Because technically they wouldn't see each other. They're like in aversion if they're both in the signs next to each other. But in this way, they are still communicating. So there is something very interesting going on here. They're really supporting each other by that mutual reception. And that is also very good for for Venus in Virgo, because Venus in Virgo, from a dignity perspective, is in its fall there. So it's a Venus that doesn't really do so well in Virgo, but it's going to be significantly easier this time around, at least as long as Mercury is in Libra, because then they have this mutual reception. So this adds, care through details and devotion and refinement and all of that. Then on Saturday, we have that Venus that just entered Virgo squaring Uranus in Gemini. This definitely serves for some disruptive moments and probably also surprises. Uranus brings in an unexpected energy. So there might be some relational shifts or shifts around your values that take you by surprise and maybe also lead to interesting, innovative clues to maybe some problems that you've been facing, and you get some new answers in how you can go on about certain things in your life, how you want to live out your values, how you want to be in relationship to other people, or it will really depend on where this is landing in your chart and what planets you have, right? This is why people get readings, because I'm just like generally talking right now. But in a general sense, you just have to look at your chart and see which house does Virgo rule. And then you can kind of get insights from these topics. So example, maybe Virgo rules your second house. So this is going to be topics literally around your values, around material gain and wealth and things you're accumulating, money maybe flowing in, or like realizing how you can make things work in your job to gain more income, things like that. So it really depends in which house this is all landing in your chart. And I've been saying this since the beginning of the month. Virgo really takes the highlight for September, okay? This is extremely important because the eclipse is ruled by Mercury in an exalted position. Again, this week shifting to Libra, but still, there's this mutual reception, and then Venus is in Virgo. So there's like a very big highlight. So do look at which house Virgo rules in your chart, because this is going to give you a lot of insight which topics are in focus and are going to stay in focus for the rest of September. Then on Saturday, I said such a weird combination between Saturday and Sunday right now. I'm so sorry. Sunday. I meant Sunday. On Sunday, we have the highlight of the week. We have the solar eclipse in the sign of Virgo. This is a south node eclipse, and this eclipse also is directly opposing Saturn. And this eclipse is ruled by a Mercury that is in Libra, tied to Venus in Virgo, again, because they are in mutual reception. So these Mercurian and Venusian themes that we have been talking about before, all getting amplified under this eclipse. Virgo Libra emphasizes refinement, clarity, pruning relationships, any sort of like systems in our life, and especially like our thought patterns. And the way we are just communicating, again, can be with ourselves, can be with the people around us, can also be our own thinking patterns. Can also just be, when I talk about relationships, I always think every relationship, okay? Venus rules about every relationship. It can be the relationship towards ourselves. It can be the relationship we have towards our pets. It can be the relationship we have with our best friends, our community, our partner, our therapist. Just, you can have a relationship with pretty much anyone or anything. And that is shifting. And that will also, again, it will depend on where it is in your chart. Because again, Virgo is your 10th house. It will change your relationship dynamics between your work and your visibility, and maybe between your boss or something like that. So again, depending on where Virgo falls in your chart and which house. So, and again, the south node is about decrease. So there is kind of a focus, even though this is like a new moon, so to say, the focus is first on releasing and purging before something new can actually happen. So we have to let go to create space for what's new. That's what I want to say. I also briefly want to touch upon the decans, just because literally yesterday we had the decans workshop for the Virgo decans, and the decans, if you don't know, are this 10 degrees increments of a zodiac sign. So essentially when we take Virgo is 30 degrees, and so we split that into 3 parts: first 10 degrees, middle 10 degrees, and last 10 degrees. And so this eclipse is happening in the last 10 degrees of Virgo. So it's falling in Decan 3. And the themes of Decan 3 especially are themes of completion, closure, and that is kind of also weaving into that balancing act of Libra, So I really like where we are heading. And there's also going to be a payoff moment when we arrive mid-October, when Venus reaches this decan, because Venus as of now is still in the first decan. And then around beginning mid-October, she's going to reach the third decan of Virgo. And so that's going to be like when the full eclipse themes are kind of closed off. So keep that in mind, okay? Sometimes eclipses are very loud. and they happen, like things happen exactly on the dates. It's usually when the eclipses are angular or they are prominent in other ways in our charts. Maybe you're having like your nodal return or nodal reversal return. So, you know, then things can happen like exactly during that day. But usually they come in with chapters, and things can also happen prior or even later. There's many aha moments that sometimes happen like 1 or 2 weeks later. So give it time, okay? If you're maybe observing your life and you're like, nothing's happening for me, it's like, no, just wait, okay? The eclipses are 100% activating things in your life. Sometimes astrology also requires us to just be present and be aware, because we might not even realize what is coming up. You know, not everyone has these loud eclipse transits where it's like, oh, a relationship is breaking apart or renewing itself, or I've quit my job, or I started a new job. Sometimes it's very subtle things like changing your routines in the 6th house, or like a health issue that you've been struggling with showing up in a different way. All of these things we just have to like observe and be aware, and that's just what I wanted to mention, because just because something is not extremely loud in your face doesn't mean it's still not affecting you. So, a little preview for next week. On Monday, we have Mars entering Scorpio, finally in its domicile position, so it's dignified. It takes a while, okay? It's been a while since Mars was in Aries last time, which is the other domicile of Mars. So, and in between that period, we had Mars retrograde in the sign of Cancer, and so it's been a long time since Mars entered Scorpio last time, and so that is a nice dignity we're getting here. Mars in a strong position again, and also right moving away from Libra, where Mars was also in its detriment. On the other hand, Sun enters Libra, where the Sun is in its fall, so we do also have a dignity change here. And with that, we also have the autumn equinox happening, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. It's officially the beginning of autumn and the dark part of the year. And I'm liking the inner planetary shifts currently. Again, because Mercury, Venus are in strong mutual reception with each other. Then Mars enters Scorpio. We have Jupiter in an exalted position. Saturn in Pisces doesn't have a specific dignity. And Sun in Libra is in its fall. So I do think end of September, beginning of October, we're like, you know, and especially after this eclipse season, we're like really starting off on a strong note. And especially with Mars in Scorpio, there's like an inner drive that is getting activated again. But more on this next week, of course, because this is the astrology of next week, not of this week. And so just like some core takeaways, just to like reiterate kind of what I said to close this off. The focus of this week is around relationships and communication. And the eclipse asks, you know, for release and refinement. There's a mutual reception between Mercury and Venus that provides unexpected support. And again, pay attention to where Virgo is falling in your chart. Maybe you can even comment down below, and then I can comment back and give you some insights, you know, just like say like, oh, Virgo falls into my 6th house or something like that. I'd be curious to hear. So this is what I have for you guys. I hope eclipse season is treating you well. I've been hearing so many stories, happy stories, sad stories, but definitely every single story has been transformational, and it's been a lot. Eclipse seasons are always these electric portals that just kind of open up, and it seems like fate and things that have to happen just kind of flow easily. And the worst thing you can do is resist that, okay? That's how you make eclipse season not fun, is when you resist the things that either want to start or want to fall away. So hope it's been treating you well. And if you've liked this video, you can subscribe to the channel. I also post a lot of things on Instagram, so it's worth following me on there. But you know, not everyone has Instagram, so that's totally fine. And we can stay in touch through YouTube, through Spotify, through Instagram. Sometimes I'm also active on Reddit, but all the links are down below in the description. And is there anything else I have to say? Mercury episode is going to be released this week, okay? From the podcast Meet the Planets. We're finally talking about some other planets, and I'm excited because Mercury is still in a strong position. So I hope you guys will really enjoy taking a deep dive in getting to know Mercury and how to work with Mercury in your own chart and in day-to-day life. So this is kind of what's happening on this channel. And yeah, without further ado, I'm going to see you guys soon, and I'm sending you much love. Bye.